Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and what we're going to discuss this morning are brimstone or sulfur matches, also known as spunks. And spunks were a match made with only sulfur and a small sliver of wood, and they would not self-ignite like a strike anywhere match. They didn't have that technology at the time spunks were used, but they used the chemical sulfur in a liquefied state to coat the end of a stick so that it could be coaxed into flame to make a match with tinder that was ignited with a flint and steel. So we'd use a charring tin, just like we did when we lit the candle itself from the char, except instead of melting candle wax to the char to bring the whole thing to flame, we're going to try to bring a spunk to flame by igniting the sulfur on the end of the match. Now, I've done a little bit of research on this, and there are a couple good videos on YouTube. Keith Burgess probably has the most well-known video on making spunks. It's a simple process, but it can be dangerous. Molten sulfur will stick to your skin and continue to burn it until you can get it off. So you've got to be careful with what you're doing while you're making spunks, but it's a simple process. Now, the one thing that I'm going to try to do to improve this process from what I've researched is they used splinters of wood to make their spunks, just small slivers of highly combustible dry woods. I'm going to try to make my spunks from fat wood so that once I get ignition, that sap in the pine is going to make it burn that much faster and that much hotter. That gives me another resource within my fire kit or in my tent or wherever I'm having to light fire or get ignition, whether it's to light a candle or to make a campfire. It gives me another way to affect that ignition with something called the spunk. Stay with me, we'll get started. Now when you're making these spunks or brimstone matches, less is usually more. You don't want to over apply the sulfur to the end of this stick. You just want a good coating on there. And then you can reapply after it dries a little bit if you don't think you got enough. Okay, so the process of making spunks is fairly simplistic. You need sulfur, and I have some sulfur, powderized sulfur in this can. Then you need your stick, and in this case I've taken some slivers of fat wood and split them down into small sticks or matches like this that I'm going to use as my spunk. Then we're going to need something that we can melt our sulfur in or liquefy it in, and I'm going to use this forged spoon ladle for that, and I'm just going to hold it over my candle. So really what I'm doing here is I'm having next fire mentality. I've got a fire in my candle here, and I can use that fire along with sulfur and a stick to help affect my next fire, because it will give me more longevity than simple char cloth, because it will give me actual burning fuel materials once the spunk is ignited. So now we've made our spunks and we've let them dry over here off to the side. And now we're going to ignite this candle with a spunk. And to do that, we're going to light the char in a charring tin, just like we would if we were going to light a candle with our char tin only. So we'll come in here and get our flint and steel kit out. just like we did when we lit the candle. And we will throw some sparks down into our tin. To ignite some charred material. And once we get some of that good and hot, now we come in with our spunk and we add it to the mix. Once we have our spunk on fire, we can set our char tin aside, cover it. You see, now I have plenty of time because I have a burning match. I have now effectively used one fire to help create my next fire. And if that's all I need, I can put this out and recreate another spunk from the same piece of material if I chose to do that. But if I were using this for a fire, I can take advantage of the longevity of this fat wood burning to start a larger fire as well. Okay folks, well, I'm Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School and Self-Reliance Outfitters. I appreciate you joining me for another video today, real quick on fire making and how to create your next fire or help create your next fire from your first fire. And I think it's very important for us to understand that next fire mentality, and spunks or brimstone or sulfur matches are one way to help you affect the next fire. I appreciate your views, I appreciate your support, I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys. Mwah.